Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
That was quick.
Yeah, Mark, don't worry. I'm driving on the new expressway and it's absolutely safe.
Hello and welcome to the second edition of PwC Presents The Winning Leap in association with CNBC TV18. This is a show where we take a look at how businesses create value, discuss the strategies and opportunities that are vital for their growth and the various challenges they face in India's economic environment. This week we take a look at what the government is doing to build and transform human capital and the role that industry and corporates play in ensuring quality and relevant education and training to their employees.
India is a country with a young population, yet only about 38% of her citizens make up the actual workforce. One of the biggest challenges the policymakers face is addressing the skills and employment issues in the country. Among many initiatives introduced by the current government, the setting up of the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship is key to addressing issues like lack of aptitude-based assessments, setting up of adequate counseling services, and mapping skills to manage supply and demand of skilled talent.
To discuss some of these issues and more, I have with me Dr. Murthy K. Uppaluri, Managing Director and CEO at Randstad, and Mr. Ashok Verma, Partner Social Sector at PwC India. Thanks very much, gentlemen, both of you.
Thank you
For coming in. If I can start with you, Mr. Verma, what can the government in terms of regulations do to ensure that the young population is adequately skilled?
Government has been doing quite a bit of initiatives in last 3-4 years, and if you look at from 2009 there was a national skill policy, and then recently the new government also has come up with a policy for new skill policy in 2015. All these policies are helping in terms of opening up the space for the private sector. The creation of National Skill Development Corporation, which is helping private sector to come into the training space, is something which is helping in terms of bringing a kind of expertise which is required in the skill sector, which was in past largely dominated by the government players when it came to the training. And the regulation front, I would say one more regulation which is required is in terms of the assessment and certification, which helps in creating an environment so that the employers could value the right kind of quality training which has been imparted to the students.
I do believe it's a close partnership that's required between the India Inc. and the government or the public sector, if you will. I think in the face of the dynamic nature of the disruptive forces that are acting on the workforce, it's an imperative almost for these two to work hand in glove. What do I mean by that? There are a lot of fluctuations on the demand side, so it makes perfect sense to align the supply of skills or supply side strategies to align with the demand. So there are a lot of disruptive forces, I believe, that need to be attended to, and I think there's good work that's being done by the government, but I think it's not enough yet in terms of the potential that India has to offer, both to our own economy and also to the world economy.
We seem to be producing a lot of educated kids coming into the workforce, but not enough skills. In a way, does it also need to be made more aspirational, Mr. Verma?
So if you look at the current supply scenario in terms of students who come out from professional colleges, from graduate colleges, or even from vocational education institutions, so there is a huge gap when it comes to the curriculum which is being followed, whether it is market relevant curriculum. There has been some initiative which has been taken up by government as well. There is a setup which is now created for sector skill councils, and these sector skill councils are represented by the private corporates, and who in turn help create those kind of job roles, those kind of curriculum which is relevant in the context of current economy, and those are the training which is going to be imparted in future. So in future, this is something which is, I would say, work in progress at this point of time.
From an employer's perspective, if I can just get Dr. Uppaluri in as well, is this helpful? I mean, how much does this help? The government getting involved in kind of, as Mr. Verma was saying, creating industry sector specific.
It definitely helps, Prashant, but I do believe it should be led still by the employers or the people who really have the demand. So I think there's clearly a need for a blended curriculum, if I may call it, in terms of having both these skills-based or vocational training-based plus the theoretical or the conventional education. So there should be a good blend of those so that we are not surprised at the end of the continuum when people graduate out of the school or college that they do not have the so-called skills required or they're not employable. The responsibility that the employers can take is to create these apprenticeship or internship programs at the end of such programs. I see this working fabulously well in some of the developed countries. So the assistantships are given, the apprenticeships are happening, and internships happen, and it's a very well, seamlessly stitched, beautifully working model.
Mr. Verma, talking about the skills that are most in demand now,
Right.
vocational courses, for example, which are they?
If you look at the vocational courses which are in demand today, are mostly the service sector related kind of courses. But I feel that when we talk about the kind of initiatives which the new government is now bringing in terms of Make in India, Digital India, and also startup, many of the manufacturing related skills are something which is not there today in the supply side in terms of investment which is being done on the training related to the manufacturing sector. That's where I think there is a need for more focus.
And it's argued that manufacturing is the only sort of sector which can absorb all these people, right? I mean, services can only do so much. You need a vibrant manufacturing sector to create jobs.
I think it's vibrant all across the 3 or 4 sectors. Agri is, under-invested in terms of technology and under-skilled, and manufacturing and infrastructure, if you will, has a serious deficit that is projected by 2022. There are some statistics available, and service more so. So I think it requires strategic planning and a diligent execution.
So from a government perspective, is that happening?
That is something which is not happening. When we talk about the apprenticeship, in fact, in the entire country, we only have 30,000 establishments which provide apprentices. In a population of such a 1.2 billion, we are talking about only 3 lakh apprentices annually being done. So this is something which has been looked at very focused manner by the government, and they have come up with a scheme which is called National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, in which they provide an incentive for every employer who takes an apprentice will be getting a 25% of the stipend which is paid to the apprentice as a cashback, or and any organization which is more than 40 workers or more than 40 workers needs to have apprentices. But this is not something which is being at this moment complied with or enforced.
But this is in fact law. I mean,
it's a law. It's a law which is not being complied and it's not being enforced.
I think if we believe, we meaning the India Inc., we believe that there is a skill gap and there is availability of talent that is unemployable. So this is a great medium to really engage with them, bring them on board, give them an exposure to the environment and the needs of the India Inc. and skill them. I think it's being done, but not enough.
Are regulations for skilling, Mr. Verma, all in place, or you think, I mean, we need more? I mean, maybe this made into a right.
So the right-based approach is not a solution to it. In fact, in India, there is only one state which has actually gone and had a right to skill, which is Chhattisgarh. But it definitely gives an, I would say, push to the agenda when you talk about in the government setup.
Today, there is something about MOOC is a phenomenon, MOOC, massively open online courses. Basically, what it is saying is anybody who is interested in learning, the difference, if you have the ability to learn on your own, you can get on online and you can access the courses from MITs, Harvards, or you name it, from the reputed universities. So what we need to do, in my humble opinion, is we need to train our next generation of talent to learn on their own. rather than being taught. So this is what we need to do. Take away the friction, leverage technology,
Use technology.
To accelerate this development and skill enablement.
Dr. Upalluri, Mr. Verma, thank you very much, both of you, for joining in
Thank you
on
so
this
much.
interesting
Thanks.
conversation. We have another interesting discussion on the other side. Stay tuned. Continuing the discussion on creating quality workforce, I have with me Head of Human Resources at Axis Bank, Rajkamal Vempati, and Padmaja Alaganandan, Leader People and Organization Consulting at PwC India. Thank you both for joining me very much. Appreciate it. Padmaja, if I can start with you. How do we prepare talent in order to deal with the challenges which are coming up because of digitization and automation?
Actually, that's something which is one of the most talked about issues today, and I think it is a fact that the increasing pace of automation and digitization is one of the factors that's most impacting the workplace and the structure of the workforce. I think another impact that comes to mind is the role of the manager in terms of how do I add value. So if I look at IT services, the role of the manager would move from managing headcount, managing a group of people, being a span breaker, to very different things, probably more direct engagement with the customer, getting deeper into the business, and there needs to be help to make that shift in mindset and get ready for that. And actually, from the time of the Industrial Revolution, I think we've seen that while technology removes one set of skills, it really creates the need for a new set of skills and hence a new set of jobs.
Raj, any thoughts?
There's obviously a need to reorient ourselves. And as Padmaja said, yes, digitization and technology and automation is here and now. It's how we interact and deal with the world. So if you look at what has changed really, as consumers and customers, we are all digital. So my point is all employees are digital talent in that sense. When they walk into the organization, it's up to the organization to make them more upskilled in the digital journey or deficient. In terms of one specific skill, I think, which digitization has brought upon us all, is the entire orientation to customer. But I think the social skills are also critical, and which the organizations have realized, which is the entire collaboration, being open and being connected.
I think there was an article in one of the magazines which was famously titled "A World Without Work." So I think we shouldn't worry about that at least, right, Padmaja?
There is also a view that, with Moore's law and doubling of computing power, we're kind of at that tipping point where today machine intelligence is very, very close to surpassing human intelligence. So I think it'll be interesting to sit 10 years from now and see if that happens. At the same time, there will always be a need for some kind of skill to oversee it, and I guess that's where we'll come in.
How does the role of leadership change in all of this? I mean, does technology take away? Leadership is about gut, or at least used to be. Does technology kind of take that away?
If I look at it very simply, I'd say from a leadership perspective, 3 dimensions, if I simplify, which is the head, heart, and guts. Some elements of head, I would argue that with time, analytics is taking away, right? Even today, rather than sit in a conference room and debate which KPIs are driving business value, our data can tell us.
We can map it.
Right? We can map it so well, and we don't need to spend time arguing it anymore.
Sure.
The fundamentals of leadership, which is about human connect, ability to influence without power, ability to create a vision and get people motivated, courage, humility.
That doesn't go
in
away.
one sense, in one sense, I would say it's back to basics, and to me, that's a very good thing.
Raj?
So I would say that the more digital we are becoming, the need for us to be more human. And the reason I'm saying is because if you look at the workforce also, the workforce is changing. The workforce no longer is driven by fear and direction and all of that, because what they have access to is very different to any of the previous generations. In fact, the information is democratized, so as their aspirations, which is where the entire role of leadership is about engaging them with purpose, giving them a sense of fulfillment in their roles, which is, why am I doing this? And also engaging and translating the entire vision that you have and strategy that you have and connecting them to the people. And decision takings has not been taken away by any amount of digitization, because somebody out there has to commercialize the business proposition.
I don't see that a machine would, to give an example, develop values for an organization, build culture in an organization, right? build the organization fabric and DNA in a collaborative way.
Yeah.
So we always need leadership.
The workplace model seems to be kind of changing and evolving as well. More and more corporates want to now, don't want to hire. They want access to talent, but they don't want to hire. I mean, your thoughts, Padmaja, on this?
So I think there are two factors, if I look back, that are driving this trend. I mean, the first is, again, something we've all spoken about, which is the almost double-digit wage inflation annually that we've been seeing, right? Which means that the people cost, which in a sense is a fixed cost as a percentage of the revenue, has been steadily inching up, and there is a need to manage that. The second factor is that today all our organizations, as we try to get competitive in the global market, we need access to very niche, specialized skill sets, right? These are specialist skill sets, not easy to procure. And if you want to develop these within the organization, that's challenging. Today you see it across the spectrum, in auto, in FMCG, where it's not just outsourcing, it's moving beyond that, say to working with specialists in a collaborative way across the net for new product development. So across the spectrum, what I see is that it's about how do we grow without adding headcount anywhere in the proportion of scale that we want to do.
So your organization's responsibility is to figure out what are the capability pools that you want to necessarily build. Some of it you may tactically buy, and definitely some you may rent or partner with like-minded people and create that ecosystem. But underlying to all of this is, once you make a conscious decision of these are the capabilities I need to drive the competitive advantage, I also need to invest in training, skilling, and ensuring that the capabilities are at a differentiated level.
Anything more to this?
And if I look at the other side, which is the supply side of the equation, it's also, the fact is that today organizations don't have to give long-term careers to everyone, right? We know a lot of people who are comfortable engaging in a more transactional way.
Are corporates, Raj, doing enough, I mean, in reskilling, retooling? Can they do more? What exactly can they do more?
See, I think from the corporate side as well, given the changes that are happening, and the entire power equation having shifted to consumer, there was the entire product dynamic, and prior to product dynamic, there was the entire backward integration, manage your costs dynamic, right? Then I think from the product to, we are at a stage where it's about solution, create the solution, engage the solution, and hook the customer to your platform, whatever it may be. And it's an interesting dynamic which is forcing the change to happen. One thing that we have to continue investing is leadership. And ensuring that we build leaders, or at least the templates of leaders that we kind of engage with are more scalable and understand the dynamics in a more agile fashion. So agility is something that through this process we will be teaching them.
Sure. Padmaja, how do we create a balance between what is required locally and what is required globally? Because at the end of the day, it is a globalized world that we live in.
I think we have a very important role to play there as a country, as corporates, as individuals. At the end of the day, we are in terms of numbers, we are the largest provider of talent in the world, right? We have estimate, say, 120 million people coming into the workforce every year. And we have a huge responsibility to make this workforce not just employable, but also to really, ignite the fire of entrepreneurship. That's part of nation building. So what can we do more of? I would think beginning to engage as organizations, as individuals at the primary school, secondary school level, just to provide exposure, provide guidance, direction, help people understand the opportunities out there. I think at the next level, there's a huge need for technical skilling, whether it's, machining or paint shop, or there's just so much technical focus that's needed to build that culture of quality. And I think finally, to my mind, building talent within our organizations, here I'm talking now at a more maybe managerial level, though it doesn't have to stop with that, which can be ready for global pipeline. I mean, I would think every CEO should take that on the scorecard, saying how do I create a team of managers who then can move into a global leadership pipeline. And I see companies doing that, and we just need to have so much more of that.
I'm a believer that demand creates a supply. So once we start demanding a certain benchmark, a certain level, I'm sure we will create supply. And which is where we've got to partner, not only with the ecosystem, as she said, which is the curriculum providers or, academia, but I think internally as well. I think leadership, if you want to continue to be a constant verb rather than a noun, you've got to stay invested, keep investing in it, and take risks. Give people the courage to take risks and build scalable organizations.
And courage to fail,
Yeah.
and learn and move on.
Padmaja Raj, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you joining in.
Thank you, Prashant.
That's all the time that we have on the show today. Join me next week for another interesting discussion on PwC Presents The Winning Leap in association with CNBC TV18. Thank you for watching. Wow, that was quick.
Yeah, Ma, don't worry. I'm driving on the new expressway and it's absolutely safe.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.